Syrian regime forces have seized a major district in rebel-held Aleppo. The southeastern Sheikh Said district was captured in the early hours of Monday following fierce clashes that began on Sunday afternoon. Syrian army forces are now in control of more than 90% of the city since it began an operation to take back control of Aleppo in the middle of November. Well, staying with Syria, Daesh has reportedly retaken control as well of the ancient city of Palmyra. Syrian state TV says Daesh now controls a military airbase as well as the ancient castle at the site. Thousands of militants launched a surprise offensive on Thursday. Syrian regime troops, backed by Russian airstrikes, have attempted to hold the city, but have now withdrawn to the southwest of the country. Let's go straight to our reporter Ediz Tiyansan, who is live for us in Gaziantep near the Turkey-Syria border. Ediz, let's begin with Aleppo, yet another district taken by the regime forces. So where does this leave things for the rebels in eastern Aleppo?
Well, certainly in a very difficult situation, Malin. Our activists on the ground are confirming that the Syrian regime forces have also captured the Sheikh Said district in eastern Aleppo. It's one of the major districts in the center of eastern Aleppo, which puts the Syrian regime forces now in control of more than 90% of what used to be rebel-controlled eastern Aleppo, and even a greater percentage of the whole city of Aleppo in its entirety. And obviously, right now, the rebels are only in control of a few neighborhoods and districts in that small enclave where they are completely surrounded and outnumbered by regime forces all around. And we understand that their chances of making a comeback for Aleppo is almost impossible at this point, and that the bombardment is still going on, both through ground shelling by regime forces as well as their allied militia, as well as through airstrikes with a backing from Russia. Now, the main concern there is obviously, even though there are only certain thousands of rebels on the ground, the number of civilians is much greater. We're talking about tens of thousands of them stuck in that small enclave, virtually with no food, water, electricity, despite the ongoing bombardment.
So what is going to happen to these civilians? Is there some sort of plan to try and give them access out?
Well, unfortunately not. And this has been talked about, discussed between the United States and Russia since they've been meeting in Geneva on Saturday and even before that. But we've heard from opposition groups on Sunday saying that there was a proposal to allow a dignified withdrawal for these rebel groups in a period of a 48-hour-long ceasefire. And then we've heard from Russia later on that such a proposal was not yet made official and that the talks are still going on in Geneva. But remember that the time is running up because these people are stuck there with very limited resources. Some of them have absolutely no food at all. They are trying to plan to flee this city, this dangerous situation. But remember that as long as there's no safe passage for them, without an actual humanitarian corridor, they are still at risk because at times they do come under fire even as they try to flee that area. They are in a very difficult position. And remember that with every hour wasted on these diplomatic talks, more and more civilians, including women, children and elderly, are still dying out there in eastern Aleppo.
And briefly, Ediz, can you tell us what's going on in Palmyra? Because it does seem that Daesh once again has the upper hand there.
Well, it took 4 days of intense battles between Syrian regime and Daesh, which started an offensive back on Thursday to retake the city of Palmyra, which they had lost to the regime some 9 months ago. We understand that it's been one of the bloodiest clashes in that area. More than 120 troops were killed from the regime side, and the Russian airstrikes were extremely intensive. The Russian agencies are reporting that they targeted more than 70 Daesh positions. They claim to have killed some 300 of them. And even though these numbers are rough estimates, we understand that it still hasn't been effective enough, and that Daesh has finally managed to take control of the city regardless, including the ancient ruins at the center of the city, as well as a strategic airbase in the south of the city that used to belong to the regime there. And also remember that Palmyra is also significant. It's a strategic location because of the oil fields in the outskirts of the city. Now, Daesh is in charge of all these areas, but we understand that the clashes are still going on. Clearly, the Syrian regime will still want Palmyra back.
OK, many thanks for that update. Ediz Tiyansan there in Gaziantep.